Wojak and the must-watch miniseries Mismatch. The evening had arrived, quiet and inviting, offering the promise of genuine relaxation. For a friend of mine, let's call him Sam, this piece was subtly threatened by a memory from earlier in the day. He'd had a pleasant, casual chat with a well-meaning acquaintance from his pottery class. The conversation had drifted, as it always does, to TV shows. Sam had made an innocuous comment about needing something new to watch. And then, the acquaintance's eyes had lit up with an almost evangelical fervor. "Oh, Sam, you have to watch The Whispering Shadows of Eldoria. It's an absolutely epic 7-season miniseries about ancient elf blacksmiths, and it's just phenomenal. The character development. The world building. You'll absolutely love it. You really, really need to watch it, trust me." They then proceeded to give a detailed, impassioned summary that spanned at least 5 minutes, recounting plot points, character arcs, and even hinting at spoilers, all delivered with breathless enthusiasm. They ended with, "Seriously, Sam, it's changed my life. Promise me you'll check it out. We can talk about it next week in class." Sam, being polite to a fault, had nodded, smiled, and probably uttered some variation of "Oh, that sounds so interesting." Or "I'll definitely add it to my list. Thanks for the recommendation." But internally, Sam had zero, absolutely zero, interest in ancient elf blacksmiths, their metallurgy, or committing 70+ hours of his precious evening time to a show that, even from the enthusiastic description, sounded utterly draining. His list was already a sprawling, mental graveyard of well-intentioned but consistently ignored recommendations, each one a tiny monument to his failed social obligations. The problem wasn't the show itself. For someone, somewhere, The Whispering Shadows of Eldoria was probably indeed phenomenal. The problem was the intensity of the recommendation, the promise me, the explicit expectation of a follow-up conversation. Sam knew, with a chilling certainty that settled in his gut, that the next time he saw this acquaintance in pottery class, the very first question, before even discussing new glaze techniques, would likely be, "So, Sam, did you start Eldoria yet?" Honestly, the sheer tyranny exerted by a well-meaning suggestion. It's truly astounding. It's like a tiny, invisible homework assignment you never signed up for, complete with a looming deadline and a pop quiz attached. My friend, Sam, found himself ensnared in a classic social predicament, the compulsory consumption of cultural content. He found himself mentally constructing elaborate, yet believable, excuses for why he hadn't watched it. "Oh, my cat got sick and I had to nurse her back to health. It was a very demanding week. My internet actually went out for 3 days straight, completely, inexplicably." He rehearsed these scenarios in his head, trying to gauge which sounded least like a blatant lie and most like a legitimate obstacle to elven narratives. He felt a pang of guilt every time he opened his streaming app and deliberately, almost defiantly, chose something else. A mindless reality show. A documentary about obscure marine life. Anything but elf blacksmiths. He even considered subtly avoiding the recommender in the hallways at work, taking longer routes to the break room, or pretending to be engrossed in his phone just to delay the inevitable interrogation. The thought of that awkward conversation, confessing his lack of interest, explaining why he hadn't honored his promise, filled him with more dread than a tax audit. He thought, is this a healthy social interaction? Is this finding common ground? Or is this just me, trapped in a web of polite lies, dreading a conversation about fictional elf metallurgy that feels more like an obligation than a shared interest? And the answer, of course, was that it was mostly the latter. It was trapping. A very subtle, very inconvenient trapping. He couldn't shake the feeling of being bound by this unspoken, unwanted cultural contract. It felt like a small, fuzzy monster was sitting on his chest, whispering, "You broke your promise. You will be found out." Sam sighed, a long, weary sigh. He finally realized the absurdity of the situation. His happiness and limited free time were more important than someone else's opinion of his streaming choices. He acknowledged that it was perfectly okay not to love everything, and it was okay to gently set boundaries, even if only internal ones. He didn't need to fake enthusiasm or watch 7 seasons of a show he actively disliked just to be a good acquaintance. He decided on a strategy. If the question came, he would politely admit he hadn't had a chance yet, perhaps mention he was currently engrossed in something else, like his napping documentary, pivot to asking them about their latest interests, and then swiftly, but kindly, change the subject. He wouldn't let the mini-series of doom steal his peace anymore. He had enough actual deadlines and anxieties in his life. He then, with a quiet sense of triumph, opened his streaming app and confidently chose a documentary about rare houseplants, a topic he actually found genuinely relaxing. The subtle pressure dissolved. The unwatched recommendation no longer hung over him like a judgmental cloud. He didn't need to consume every piece of culture pushed his way. His evenings were his own. And as Sam, my very discerning friend, drifted off to sleep that night, the phantom weight of the unwatched miniseries faded from his mind. He didn't dream of ancient elf blacksmiths or awkward social encounters. He dreamed of quiet evenings, and chosen entertainment, and the blissful feeling of realizing that sometimes, the greatest freedom comes from simply saying no to invisible obligations. Sleep now. And may your dreams be refreshingly free of unsolicited recommendations, and full of your own quiet interests.